Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed last week's show. And if you were unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Loral Langemeier is a money expert, sought-after speaker, entrepreneurial thought leader, and best-selling author of 5 books. Her goal: to change the conversation people have about money worldwide and empower people to become millionaires. The CEO and founder of Live Out Loud, Inc., a multinational organization, Loral relentlessly and candidly shares her best advice without hesitation or apology. What sets her apart from other wealth experts is her innate ability to recognize and acknowledge the skills and talents of people, inspiring them to generate wealth. She's created, nurtured, and perfected a 3 to 5 year strategy to make millions for the average Jill and Joe. To date, she and her team have served thousands of individuals worldwide and created hundreds of millionaires through wealth building educational keynotes, workshops, products, events, programs, and coaching services. So Loral, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. Thanks, Candy.
Well, I'm excited to have you here too. I know we're going to be talking about a topic that I have a passion for as well, which is having financially savvy kids. But before we even get into the topic of learning how to be millionaires, I would love for you to share a little bit more about yourself and how did you even become an entrepreneur coaching others to become millionaires?
Absolutely. So I grew up in a farm in Nebraska, big farm family, and 17 years old, I was headed off to college and went to a workshop. Not sure exactly how I got to that, but Dennis Waitley was there. Yeah, and he did one of those giveaways from the stage, and I ran to the stage and I got the book Think and Grow Rich. And that was a pivotal moment of reading that, like growing up, in a very traditional Midwestern family, call it, right? Like, anyway, so Think and Grow Rich was like, oh my gosh, people think like this? Like, how is this even? And like, this is what I want. And then I started studying millionaires, got a finance degree, started my first entrepreneurial venture right then at 17. I became a personal trainer, aerobics instructor, and just have done a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. Hit my millionaires year in 1999 in real estate and gas and oil. Same year I became a single mom and had my son Logan, who's now 22. And we've been jamming ever since. So I'm publishing this book on how I made my kids millionaires. And they are now 15 and 22. So the book is launching on Mother's Day of 2022 here coming up. And nice. It's a tell-all on how I did it as a single mom making millionaires. So it's been
perfect.
Fun. Great journey.
Well, I do. Again, my whole thing too is when I took my daughter to college, I was thinking when I dropped her off, I was so thankful I had prepared her financially, but I was thinking how many people on this college campus are not prepared and are going to get those credit cards and are going to get in debt. And then, I did have a passion to start talking to people even younger as well. And so I'm so happy that you're actually going to share this information today too. So I would love for you to answer first, what can parents do to really help their children learn about the value of money and how to manage it?
Buy my book. It is a tell-all. So the book is, we went back to McGraw-Hill, which did my first 3 Millionaire Makers books. So I have the Millionaire Maker that I published on how to make millionaires, which is still very relevant today. I have the Millionaire's Maker Guide to a Cash Machine, how to build a 7-figure business, and then how to invest in alternatives. So
nice.
Those were all built. And then 2009 happened. So I did one just for that, which is how to put more cash in your pocket. I call it the 21st Century Lemonade Stand. And then I wanted to be an author with Hay House and what I call the God Squad. So I I did a yes energy. So my theme of life and my motto, Candy, is I say yes and I figure it out. So I said yes to doing this book with a partner. He's an Air Force fighter pilot. And how we made our kids millionaires is very different stories. And the book will be coming out. But, to answer your question even more specifically is first, the parents have to want to, and you don't have to be a millionaire to make a millionaire. Our encouragement is that you get the book. There's $1,500 of bonus value on all the things that I did to my kids. I did all sorts of experiments, never pay them an allowance. There's a whole strategy to that, how they organize for goal setting, how they make and invest first. There's just a lot of patterns that we teach, but the parent has to become involved. I think the school system's already in an interesting state of stress, I'll call it that. And the pandemic has created it even worse. And so if parents haven't woke up to what their kids are being taught in school, money and finance is never going to be. It's not a hope and a prayer. It's not going to happen. So, no more time sensitive is Kyle and I really digging in. And what we did with the book is we wrote from 0 to 5, what do you do? Like when my kids first were born, like at 0, Candy, they were employed. There's very legal strategies in the IRS code. It's like they were employed. They had Roth IRAs, they had investment accounts at 0. At 0 by nice. 1. So I'm super aggressive because I was just doing this, like figuring this out as a single mom. But 0 to 5, and then 6 to 8. And then when do you get a credit card? When do you get a car account? How do you do all this that you don't create a spoiled little trust fund baby? How do you make smart kids?
That's so true too, because a lot of people now feel like entitled to things like, I deserve XYZ, and that isn't always the case in the real world, right?
It's never the case in the real world. In this participation era that I showed up, so I must get something. No, there is a first place. There is a second place. I love that the Olympics are on because there's a gold, there's a silver, and there's a bronze, and it's called a 1, 2, and a 3. And that's how life is. Business is aggressive. Business is competitive. It's not this collaborative state. I love, there's this union of people trying to make it collaborative. Good luck with that. Right. It's not, it doesn't work in a capitalist environment. And the most successful people have thrived in these environments.
So what would you say to the parents though, who feel like, oh, but I love my kids and I just want to pamper them and give them what they want. And if they at 16 want a BMW, I'm going to buy it for them. Or if they want labels on clothes, I'm going to buy it for them, versus really learning how to manage the money and make smart, wise investments and choices.
Responsibility, consequences. And there's a lot in the book about that. So I would say I'm one of the more aggressive parents. And my kids do have a lot, but they've also earned the right to have a lot. So there's a lot of negotiating. I would say negotiation and financial literacy is the core. But inside of that, like my son is 22. This super proud year. This year, he'll have a double bachelor's degree in May.
Wow.
He'll have a master's in accounting. By December, he'll be tested for a CPA and a CMA all in 1 year. That's a 1 year old. And he's a football player at Georgia Southern as a D1 school athlete. So, and my daughter has just kind of the same, goals. So, I teach and I talk about it in the book. When my kids were really little, I started setting goals. Like at 2 and 3 years old, we cut out this stocking. So it's still our funny thing we do today. So it looks like a Christmas stocking. And from Christmas to New Year, we divide the stocking and we review, like, how was your year? Like, what were the things you were excited about? Even if it was like simple things when they were really little, like an age appropriate things, they made a team. Right. Like my son made the ski team. My daughter made the ski team. My daughter went on to do MMA fighting, made certain belts and certain goals. So I set goal setting as a thing that's just that's in their DNA. And if they want something, then we have, either I pay half and they pay half, and then they have entrepreneurial ventures and they got to earn it. And I'm right there side by side. I've been side by side in all of their companies and helping them. They're both amazing tutors. He was a ski instructor. She does a lot of extraordinary art, and she sells it all. And I teach them sales early on. A lot of my mentors, if you look at wealthy people, they have an entrepreneurial skill set, which is marketing, sales, and cash flow. And those 3 are not taught in school. My son's getting a finance and accounting degree, and he's not been taught anything. He still says today, he filled out this application for a big job, and we were going through his application together. And so I say, parents, you got to get involved. and you're
Mhm.
not their friend. You are their guide. You're their mentor.
Right.
You're the one who has to steer them to be this amazing, successful adult. And I got to say,
Right.
as a single mom, I watched a lot of single moms raise their boys to be like their friend or the man
Mhm.
of the house. That is not their job. It is your
Mhm.
job to be the parent. It is their job to be the child, and you have a responsibility of parenting. So there's a huge theme in the book about responsible parenting, and the
Mhm.
school system's not daycare. our,
Right.
our ultimate goal with the book is to now take it to a curriculum designer. So if there's anybody out there listening that knows how to do this, and make it K through 12 homeschool curriculum. And then
Mhm.
parents will have to get involved. So we're excited about that next step, which would be like a 2023, mission to get that done for the families. And it's not just an American book, it's a worldwide book.
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah, I think it's so important. There's just so many people that just don't understand the concept, of money and how to make it work for you. But what would you say to the parents who, are still trying to instill these, but sometimes kids just have opposite personalities. Some might be a saver and some internally just want to spend. Like, how can they help their children really understand it's okay to spend once in a while, but you also want to save? And how can they do that properly?
So it's that broader concept of a P&L and a balance sheet. Like we teach that really early on. Like, my son had a smoothie business early on. My daughter had an art business early on. And at 10 years old, we teach cost of goods. So I'm not going to just keep buying the goods for you. Your supplies are a cost of doing business. So it's a gradual education. I don't care how old you are. You just have to begin that conversation and immerse that into, I say risk and reward. I'm going to say work and reward. What's interesting right now, Candy, with a lot of the kids is they're go from gaming to digital currency and digital currency trading. And there are so many young millionaires. Like I have a 21-year-old that just became worth I don't know how many millions in Ethereum. And I met him at 13 years old, and his mom joined our community, and we're a big family organization. You bring your kids and we bring them all in. But I say to those families, you got to take this seriously. Financial literacy has got to be taught. If you just look at the day, one of my assignments, Candy, that I give a lot of people is everybody is if you just tracked your day, how many financial transactions that you already put on auto pay, or you do, like you go through and you get coffee. Okay. You just you got, maybe you hired or had, I don't know, some of the like Grubhub or I don't know, I don't do those things, but that you had your lunch delivered, you had your utility bill paid today, maybe your phone bill was paid today. If you think about what it takes to live, you have 10 to 20 financial transactions a day. And everybody's financially illiterate. They put everything on auto pay. They don't even reconcile their bank accounts. They think the banks actually know how to do good math. I mean, it's shocking to me. I have a huge stance about using a debit card and credit card. Like at 13, super responsible. You hand your kids one, and at 18, they get an LLC, and now they have corporate credit. And it's very laid out, but parents have to be involved. And I'd say to the parents, you can just hope somebody else is going to do it, which I think I just gave you enough background. No one's going to do it.
Right.
It's your job. It's your job. And if you don't want to do it, give them to me. I'll take your kids and I'll teach them.
Right. Well, and it's so true, because I've seen in business, I do bookkeeping, payroll, those kind of things too. And even businesses who come to me and I'll say, when was the last time you reconciled their account? Like, oh, well, the bank imports it into the software. I'm like, that is not reconciling. And I've seen duplicates and I've seen mistransactions, and you have to verify your numbers. And same thing personally. Look at your information, make sure you're not overcharged on something or double charged on something. And just like letting it happen is a mistake, in my opinion.
Huge mistake. Mistake. We'll have to talk after the show. I can probably refer you a ton of bookkeeping business, because people just think that, exactly like you said, just because it all imports and it adds up, and here's how most people live. As long as I have some money, I'm good. It's like, no, like, what are you doing? What are you investing? Like, how much of that money? We have a huge section of our book about the compounding power of money. Like when my kids were born with Roths, and now we bought Bitcoin at 4,000, which I was a little late to that party, but still all that has grown tax-free, tax deferred inside all of our Roths. there's just so many strategies, getting them involved. Like I remember being my real estate market, my Millionaire market's in Oklahoma. And I remember taking my son down there. I mean, he was 2-3 years old. And, I just sat him down in his little, area with, paint, and he'd paint. And we went to the swim pool later that day. And the kids were like, "Oh, are you like did you just move in?" He's like, "I own this place." I'll never forget when he said that. I'm like, "Oh my God, he gets it." Like you pay our family to live at our house. Like this is all of our apartments, but the kids get it. That's what's amazing. So parents, you gotta lean in and allow yourself to learn side by side, because some of, as they're watching, are not financially literate, but your kids get it, and they get it quick. They get it so quick because they don't have any weird contaminants about what money is, what debt is, what a debit card is, what a credit card is. They're not worried about, I need to be debt free before I can begin my millionaire journey. It's like, no. I'm going to actually get you into a lot of leveraged good debt. You will be in debt as I make you a fast millionaire. So debt has a weird connotation. People just don't understand it. Candy, what I say about debt? Debt's the cost of money. That's really all it is. And you either pay it or you receive it.
Right. Well, and I would love you to touch on that too, because like you said, people sometimes are afraid, like, yes, getting a mortgage on your home. Yes, it's going to, in the long run, you're going to have an asset or things like that too. But I know sometimes people are afraid to get into debt. And so can you touch on that for someone to understand what is considered bad debt and what's considered good debt?
Yeah. So bad debt is just because you want to buy stuff and you've outlived your ability to make money. So that would look like you bring home, say, $5,000 a month in net if you're an employee, and you overlive that, or you have a bigger goal. And so you start living on your credit cards. And then every month after month after month, that just cycles. And then you do the worst thing, which is you reconsolidate your debt, which pay enormous fees to those companies. And then you usually dilute your house by throwing it all into a house mortgage, and then you go again. And it's a horrible, horrible pattern. And I'm not a fan of paying off your house. If you can get a house mortgage for 2-3%, but over here you can invest your money, and say you have a $500,000 house, you put 100 down, you finance 400. Why wouldn't you put 400,000 to work and make 10, 12, 20, 30, 40%?
Right.
Why would you take 400,000 and pay off 3% mortgage? Like that makes no sense. So these crazy programs of let's, pay off your house quickly. Why? Use all that money. You do it $400,000, leveraged it. Let's just go easy math. 10% a year is 40,000. You could make 40,000.
Right.
You use the 40,000 to pay more of the mortgage if you want to pay it down, but you don't blow your principal. And so that's good debt. That's good debt. But a lot of people just, what I say about bad debt is you just don't know how to make money, because you shouldn't ever have any. And it's not about living within your means. I'm not Susie Orman. I'm completely opposite. And I love Susie. For those of you who want to stay in a safe little box, Susie and Dave Ramsey are your people. I am not that. I'm a millionaire maker. And so we're going to run. We're going to make a lot of money. If you want something, go make the money and buy it. I was 2007. I started to really ramp, like the Millionaire Maker hit it, the New York Times first, bestseller list. Like we were really ramping up as Dr. Phil's Money Extra. The Secret came out. It was just crazy. And I bought a private plane for $3 million. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't afford it, I put $1 million down. I financed 2 million at 1.69. That's like free. And with a little percent. And I flew around. I could do 3 TV shows. I could fly around all day, get back home for my kids for dinner. So it was a massive business investment. And I turned to my company. I said, company, we need an extra $40,000 a month to have this asset. And then all of you get to fly with me. So let's go to work. And we learned, if we made more money. And so I teach the principle, if you want it, have whatever you want, but you better make the money to afford it. And that's why I teach my kid. If you want it, you can have anything you want. I remember my kids just recently, I still have an old phone, like I'm still one of those people. I would like the BlackBerry back, the little flippy ones. Right. I would really like that, but my kids are like, I want the new latest iPhone and this. I said, all right, well, 50-50. Like, what are you going to do to pay for it? And if I totally don't agree that you need it, then make your money. Go. Right. Make some money. Have whatever you want. Not my money, your money. My son says it. He said, my mom's rich. I'm not yet. Well, you are in theory, because the other thing I'm very aggressive with, Candy, is when they're 18 and they're an adult, get an LLC. If you want to live this amazing life we have here in the United States of corporate life, you get 81,000 pages of tax code. I mean, you know better than anybody. You're a bookkeeper. I mean, this is one of the things I see you do. It's like, we need many of you, because so many people don't do that, or they try to do it on their own. Like I have a finance degree and I don't do my own accounting. I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I have a skill set that's different. I can hire somebody to do that. It's not better or worse. It's just not what I want to leverage my time. So I teach people how to make money. I love when people love to unleash and say, I want a bigger life. Well, then let's go make the money. And that's not a job. You all have amazing skills. Those of you listening, amazing skills. You can do anything for 6 and 7 figures. You just haven't been trained. So that's kind of
and that's a concept that you just said, like, too, at 18, have them form an LLC. Like, how many people think about that? So like, maybe tell them what's the benefit, right, of having your child have an LLC?
Well, and a lot of folks, and I'm going to pick on accountants, they'll say, well, unless you make $100,000, you shouldn't be incorporated. So yes, there is a cost to have a corporate structure, but because you have corporate structure, you're an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp. I use an LLC as an example because it's kind of an easy one to get, but there are some states that's not what you start with. That is not what you start with. You start with something else. So, and I know you just met my partner, Scott. So that's what he says, after 20 years of expertise, and what company do you form depending on the state and your goals? So number one, it allows you tax benefits. So now your phone, your car, here's a ninja one, your school that you don't get paid for on scholarship, your company can have a education reimbursement plan. So now it's a deduction versus a front end cost. So a lot of families don't know that. I kind of made it up. I tested it with a lot of accountants and they're like, of course you could do that. I'm like, well, then we're going to do that, because that's what we did with my son. And it allows them to have a massive, tax benefit, right? And I think Kiyosaki said it best. And I worked with the Rich Dad organization. I was the master distributor of the cash flow game from 96 to 2000. And probably Robert wrote it cleanest in his Rich Dad, Robert and Sharon, is you can stay an employee, make money, get taxed, and then spend what's left. Or as an entrepreneur, you make money. You have 81,000 pages of deductions here in the United States, amazing tax code, and then you pay tax. So you choose your tax. So why not be an entrepreneur? I mean, why go work for someone when you can take the full cash benefit to your own? So is there some learning with that? Absolutely. It's just easier to go get a simple, job as an employee, but you have no tax benefits by doing that. So it's just better to do it the other way if you have a family that's active around how to live like that.
Right. Well, and I saw too on your website, you have some Loralisms, and so I wanted to just ask you maybe to explain a couple of them, so people can understand. So it says millionaires don't leave money to chance. So what do they do then?
We plan it all. We plan how we're going to make it. We plan with bookkeepers and great accountants how we're going to be taxed on it. We tax what's deductions. We strategize how much is going to charity, how much is going to investing. We plan it all. We don't live on budgets. Budgets are like diets. They're restrictive and horrible. You can imagine that's not my energy. So we call it forecasting. We're going to forecast, how are you going to spend it? And I'll tell you, if you want to take on the most rigorous homework assignment, spend every dime you make on paper. Like really write it out. Like, what are you going to make? What's going to charity? What's going to your investment account? And I love when people go from, 50,000 to 150 and they put that 100 to work, because they're used to living on 50. And you put that 100 to work and then you compound that at, say, even a simple 10 or 12%, you're a millionaire quickly, very quickly. And so it's just very strategically thought through. And that's what we do in a lot of our, mentoring and coaching programs, is help you really define and decide. How do you pay your kids? How do you pay your family? Like, I'm an employee-less office. Every one of my people, they might start as an employee and then they graduate and they get an LLC, and then their company works with my company. And we are in contractual corporate relationships. So I grow those families into knowing, how do you get healthcare? How do you become sustainable having a contract with, one or more of my companies? So we do it very different. And it's extremely legal. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you can't do it. You can do it. You just haven't been taught.
That's an interesting concept. I really like that. So,
What's interesting about it is the performance of everybody. Because when you're in a contractual relationship, you have to perform. If you're an employee, I can just fire you. And then what? Oh, you're a victim and on to the next thing. There's a responsibility that gets created in the relationship. I mean, I've got 10, 15-year people that have been with me for a very long time because of that strategy. And I just, again, made that up one day and I said, why do I want them? I tell you to quit. So you shouldn't be one.
Right. So, that's interesting.
Slowly they all start quitting and say, well, can our company work for your company? I'm like, sure. So it literally organically just began. And now instead of quitting, we call it graduate. So you go from an employee. So like somebody brand new, like we have a few new people, they're like, oh, I have to be a company. I'm not used to that. And I'm like, well, you start as an employee for a minute and then we're going to grow you up. And then you're going to graduate and you're going to get your own company and you will be more sustainable long-term than you will ever know you can be.
Nice.
So yeah, it's fun.
Well, and you also say entrepreneurs change economies. So how would you say that they do that, especially the small businesses?
Well, because we're the undercurrent. I mean, we're the ones that employ the majority of the workforce. If you look at small, medium-sized businesses, we're the ones that provide goods and services. Now, we're also on a huge boycott about the monopolies that are going on. The pandemic was designed that way, if no one's woke up to that yet. Notice that Amazon went from selling books to damn near everything. So did Walmart.
Right.
So did a few big firms, and you wonder why they have the money to go to space and you still are struggling. I'm a huge fan of supporting small, medium-sized businesses, private business, and we are the infrastructure. Drive around town. Yes, there are, publicly traded companies that are in your town, but there are more small, private-owned companies that drive your town and drive your employment and drive your business. And we drive the economy.
That's so true. And they're so important. And, a lot of these big businesses are trying to get rid of the small guy, and it's really sad. So support your local business, right? Support your small businesses, help them.
Always. And yeah, you might have to pay a little more, but you know what my answer is going to be? Then go make a little more, because you know what? They're going to reciprocate back to support that business to business relationship than just the convenience. And that's what a lot of people are buying right now is convenience versus what's really going to happen in the long haul if that continues. Right. You don't even want to know. I mean, you're seeing it in Canada. I'm married to a Canadian, by the way. So I'm very well versed in many countries, and plus I've traveled all the world and taught this all over the world. But I can tell you some of these socialized countries are, as you can see, becoming more than that. It should be an eye opener to hold tight to small business.
Right. And for the last Loralism I'd like you to talk about is just change and engage your relationship with money. Start first by hanging out with people who have it. So if someone doesn't feel that they really are in that sphere, how would they even do that? Hang
out with me. So I'm going to give you a link. The link has not been, actually, I'm going to give you a link. It's Loral.club. And on there is a ticket. I do what's called the Millionaire Intensive, and it's a marketplace. It's a free event. It's a day and a half. And I always say, I teach for 6 of the hours, and then we have a marketplace for another 7 hours. So it's a 13-day event or 13-hour event. And it will change your life. Because a lot of this, like even our conversation today, for some that are listening are like, oh, this is way too different. And it's like, it's just different. It's not difficult. It's different. So if you want to stay in a safe little box and keep your pattern that's probably not working out for you, then you can stay that way. Or you can say, you know what, like my whole theme this year, Candy, is lean in and learn and get financially literate. So lean in and learn is my whole 2022 theme. You got to learn, you got to stop. You've learned other things in your life, yet money runs your life. I mean, you can't move without it. You can't live without it. You can't buy gas without it. You can't buy food without it. So why is that the most important thing, that's sort of the gas in your life, the fuel of your life, is so ignored? It's intentional, by the way, that you stay financially illiterate and stay an employee, stay in your little box, maximize your 401k, and the whole thing might work out for you. And it's wrong. It's not going to work if you want more for you and your family. So it's time to learn. And a lot of this is financial literacy and just money literacy, the basics. Most people don't understand. Like, I'm going to just give one lesson about like a debit card versus a credit card. I remember my son, he plays football at Georgia Southern, and he's a starting center, super proud of him. And he said, Mom, off to the east because we grew up in Lake Tahoe, the West. And he said, I got to become my own man. I can't be, the millionaire maker's son or Loral's son. And so he went off on his own and he said, and nobody's going to know who we are, or you specifically. I'm like, I got it. You got to go do your thing. So he did. Last year he called, he said, okay, I've had it. I get it. You got to come in. And he said, I convinced the coach that you can come and teach our football team the basics of money. And he said, the biggest thing that's shocking now that he's, 21 and could go to a bar is how many kids walk around with a debit card. That just money comes straight out of your bank account. And I taught him really early on. I mean, he's got massive credit lines and he knows how to have good credit and he's got credit cards and he's very, we have a whole structure to that. But I taught him young. I start credit card teaching and credit teaching at 13, 14. So anyway, fast forward, he's out of bars and he's like, these kids just walk around with debit cards, Mom. He said, I don't even carry mine. I mean, he kind of keeps it in his apartment, like as an extra just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but credit, like using your credit card and you pay it off every month and you get in that habit. Now you have credit, you have points. He earns enough flight and point miles. He can fly around. He can go on spring break on his own. I mean, it's shocking. He's like, Mom, they have to learn the basics. And I don't think parents even know the basics. Parents walk around with debit cards all day. Why? Mm-hmm. Why aren't you in expanding your credit lines, your credit limits, and your ability to show the financial institutes you're actually a responsible human? When people say they can't get money and they can't get finance or credit, probably you don't deserve any. And I know it's really harsh, I say that, but you don't. You're too financially illiterate to change the pattern. And the only person who's winning in your bad pattern are the financial institutes. You're paying them a fortune, right? Yeah. Some people that are listening probably are paying 18, 21% on their credit cards. That is totally not even, it's crazy. And you don't have to do it, but unless you get financially literate and hang out with people who have money. So unless you hang out with us, you don't understand it all. You can read all the books, but when you really start watching behaviorally how we roll and how we play and what we do, it's different, especially how we parent.
Right. Well, I know, Loral, this has been a great topic. I know we're running short on time. So I do want to ask if you have an offer you want to share. I know you've already given a link for people to join you, but I know you want to promote your book. So if you want to promote that again, so people can get it.
Absolutely. It's makeyourkidsmillionaires.com. It is live and thriving right now. If you buy, it's a $25 plus shipping and handling pre-order. It comes out in May, but you get $1,500 of bonuses. So all these things I've been talking about, don't pay your kids an allowance, financial income, all these digital assets are going to come right into your inbox the minute you order the book. So lots of big bonuses to help us in our pre-order stage.
Nice. And if anyone wants to connect with you besides the one link that you did share too, but if they want to find you maybe on social media or, any other websites you want to share, how can they connect with you?
I have a massive YouTube channel. I am there 5 days a week, highly produced, and it's very specific financial literacy. So 5 days a week, subscribe, stay a follower. In fact, I do incentives for people who binge watch our channel because I really want you financially literate. And you can search in the bar, like if good credit and bad credit was interesting to you, you can go into my search bar, my YouTube channel, and you can search about that. You can search about tax deductions, LLCs, raising your kids, investing, gas and oil, marijuana, NFTs. I mean, I talk about it all. So it's all there on my YouTube channel. That's probably the freest, most open channel and a ton of diversity of content. So it's exciting.
Oh, that's great. But thank you, Loral, so much for being a guest on my show and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. And for the guests who are tuning in, I hope you found this topic interesting, that it answered some of your questions about how to become a millionaire. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to her at the links that she has given you, or send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topic. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.